Hi, I'm Corinne Lesh with EdScoop, and I'm sitting with Kobie Pruitt. Kobie, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So explain a little bit about your role as Education Policy Manager. What does that mean and what do you do?
Well, the Future Privacy Forum, which is where I work for, we are more talking about the responsible use of data. And one of the things that we do is we work with student information, student data. After In Bloom a few years ago, the Gates Foundation funded us to investigate the issue of student privacy and kind of talk about and try to set the conversation and be the moderate voice in the craziness that was after that situation. So what we do is we become the convener for a lot of the advocacy groups, as well as teachers, privacy experts. We have education working groups that we run where we can talk about the latest issues with the legislation that's coming up or some of the concerns about complying with some of the current federal laws like FERPA and COPPA. So we kind of lead that conversation amongst some of our colleagues.
Great. And you mentioned In Bloom, which was a big topic of conversation at COSN a few years ago. Explain a little bit about what happened, and have we seen anything since then that is really threatens student privacy like that?
So within Bloom, they tried to embark on an idea of linking our databases across the country with our schools. What happened is due to somewhat, some would say, a lack of communication about what was being gathered and collected, there was raising issues of privacy concerns about this national database of student information. So a lot of schools felt pressure to back out of the database, and once the New York school system backed out, it kind of imploded. So it was a situation where we tried to have more data and to help students perform better. We wanted to have a situation where we can use that information to inform decisions on best practices and information about, what are some of the gaps that we had in education. But due to a lack of communication, I think it kind of, didn't work.
What are we seeing around the country right now in terms of how student data is being used and protected?
I think you're seeing a lot now is you're seeing a lot of legislation that's being brought up and passed in certain places. The SOPIPA law in California is one of the examples of a state being proactive with its attempt to protect student information. I think you're seeing that across different states. We've seen over 100 student privacy bills in many different states in the last 2 years. So it's something that states are taking notice of, and they're trying to do something about it. So I think you're seeing that. I think you're also seeing schools becoming more intelligent on student data and student privacy. I think it's not something that's been on their radar for a while, but now that they're more aware of the issue and the legal implications of data breaches for students, I think schools are becoming more proactive in hiring CPOs for a school. I think this is something new that you're seeing a lot more, is that schools will have CPOs or they'll have their IT managers become more intelligent on privacy issues. So I think that's what we're seeing now.
So you're seeing more school districts actually hiring chief privacy officers.
Yes.
Interesting. And it seems like a lot of states are sort of creating their own laws because the FERPA is kind of at a standstill in Congress right now.
Yeah.
Congress has held several hearings to possibly update or overhaul FERPA. Do you see it being updated anytime soon? And what does it need to? What should it have when it is?
I think there is an attempt to update FERPA. FERPA is a 40-year-old law now. I mean, so we didn't really have ed tech vendors back in 1970. So I think you're seeing maybe it's more at a grassroots where the states are passing it. Now there's more pressure on the federal government to do it. Congressman Klein has been a big proponent for trying to update FERPA. He's had a few FERPA rewrite bills that have come out. Congressman Rokita and Congresswoman Fudge have also introduced legislation to rewrite and update FERPA. This legislation is kind of at a standstill in the Congress. It's something that, as we end the year, we'll probably see one last attempt by Chairman Klein to try to promote his legislation, get a FERPA rewrite through. I'm not sure if the Senate has a appetite for a FERPA legislation right now, so we'll have to wait and see. There was some legislation that was proposed by the Senate with Blumenthal-Daines
Right.
that was offered to try to be a sister legislation to the House side, but that kind of went by the wayside, and it doesn't seem like it has legs anymore. So, well, I don't know. Maybe next Congress, I think we might have a chance there. But I think Chairman Klein's bill is a good guidepost for future legislation. So they have been very willing to listen to the advocates and the people who are smart on this issue and trying to make a more perfect bill. And
Right.
I think we're going to see a lot more federal bills kind of emulate SOPIPA, where there is that responsibility that's put on the vendors. FERPA only puts the onus on schools on
Right.
protecting data. So we're going to start seeing laws and efforts to modernize FERPA, where it becomes a bill that or a law that covers both the schools and the vendors and make sure there's a shared responsibility there.
What advice do you have for school IT leadership or CTOs when it comes to trying to protect student data, and what do you want to see vendors do on their side?
I think for CPOs and chief technology officers, I think it's important to go to some of these events that are held. FPF, the Future Privacy Forum, has a boot camp for vendors where they can come and become smart on these issues. Future Privacy Forum also we have a educator's guide to student data privacy coming out very soon, which is a kind of let's create a layman's terms FERPA, because not everyone has a law degree
Right.
to really understand some of these laws. So we're trying to be a resource for some of these people. So I would encourage them to look at some of our resources, and if it helps, and they can contact us if they have issues.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kobie.
Oh,
We
thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I'm Corinne Lesh with EdScoop. Thanks for watching.